Today, I'm going to get into how our gut is literally our second brain. It is the place where not only can you get so many important substances like the neurotransmitters, like dopamine, for example, serotonin is 90 plus, probably 95% produced in your gut. So many important hormones that are regulated there. And like I said just a moment ago, the gut bacteria, the microbiota, the viruses, protozoa, all those organisms that exist in your gut literally outnumber you, and they have more DNA than you do, than your own personal DNA. So is it important? Heck yeah, it's important. And like I always say, all health begins in the gut, which is sort of my play on the age-old, 2,000-year-old dictum from the one of the OG physicians, Hippocrates, who said all disease begins in the gut. I say all health begins in the gut. So don't forget about the gut, because whether you like it or not, whether you realize it or not, almost every symptom that you may be struggling with can be related to gut health. It's not just about digestion. That's like the teeniest part. Is very important. Digestion, assimilation. We talk a lot about that in functional medicine, but it can play into every other body system. It can play into your energy. It can play into your mental acuity and sharpness, whether or not you have brain fog. If you have inflammation going on in your body, you know I talk about this all the time. It can literally start in the gut. And that's one of the first things I attack when we get down nitty gritty, get your lab markers. Your highly sensitive CRP is a great initial screening test to see if you got low grade inflammation. If you do have an elevated CRP, it could be because of the gut, because the gut is literally the potential place where you can have the outside world and the inside world get too close in contact, if you will. If you have leaky gut, you can get outside particles, digested, partly digested food, bacteria into your bloodstream through one single cell of thickness, which is your gut barrier, if you will. The so-called leaky gut or increased intestinal permeability that you may have heard about, leaky gut. It literally is because that wall, if you will, the barrier between the outside world, which is the innards of your digestive tract, and the inside world, which is on the other side of that one single cell layer membrane between the two cells. You have this area, it's called a gap junction, and they can open up. These junctions can open up if you get leaky gut, and you can get all sorts of crap, literally. Dr. Hyman, Mark Hyman, if you know him, he's one of the greats in functional and integrative medicine. He talks about the gut being the place where the sewer can literally interact with your bloodstream if you're not careful. And do any of you want the sewer in your bloodstream? Like, heck no, you don't want that. I don't want that either. And so you don't want leaky gut, yet it affects many of us. Probably the overwhelming majority of us here in the US have some degree of leaky gut. It's amazing that we're not even sicker, because that outside environment is not amazing sometimes, especially all the things that we throw into that hollow tube, if you will, the viscous of our intestinal tract from our mouth down to our anus. That whole process is literally a reservoir for all kinds of craziness, good stuff and bad stuff. And so we're going to get into that today. We're going to play into how the gut plays into your brain health, your energy, whether or not you're having that stubborn weight gain. It can play into your hormones, your mood. I already mentioned serotonin, for example, how the gut and the skin are connected. Often people who have skin conditions, say eczema, many of those have their root in the gut. Most of the food sensitivities, what people think are food allergies, if you will, sensitivities, most of that starts with the gut. Immune system, well, I don't know if you know this or not, but the overwhelming majority, a huge part of your immune system lives in your gut, the so-called mucosal lymphatic tissue, the GALT, the GEI, and intestinal mucosa, intestinal immune tissue, which is there. And it comprises somewhere between like 60 to 70% of your immune system is located in your gut. And it's important that it's there because it has to recognize the not so good stuff, right? The invaders, if you will. It's so important. Your immune system and your gut are so connected. And also your sleep. Did you know that the microbiota, the bacteria that live in your gut, can literally help you regulate sleep for better or for worse? They pay attention to those signals, your sleep, even your longevity, your aging. In fact, I entitled this podcast, You May Be Aging Faster Than You Think, because your gut could be doing this, because it's that important. The gut is literally one of, I call it kind of an organ system in and of itself, but it literally plays into every organ system that exists. It is so key, critical, and crucial. And so I'm going to get the basics of what we call the 5R approach because I want you to have tactical tools, tips, tricks, and tools to actually be able to repair and rejuvenate your gut because your gut is that important. It's literally the headquarters of the communication of your body. This gut-brain axis is a real thing. And if your gut gets inflamed, it gets damaged, it gets imbalanced, you can have effects everywhere in your body. And so when in doubt, start with the gut. So we're going to get into that. We're going to get into this framework called the 5R approach, which is something that we use as foundational and functional and integrative medicine because this is so important. As you may have heard me speak of before, we get down to the roots, we get down to the so-called root cause of things in functional and integrative medicine. We're not just throwing the band-aids on top of the symptoms like we often do in Western medicine. Believe me, I know that very well. That's how I got my initial training was in Western medicine, and I've always known that there was more, and so I've done my own training and also done that with the Institute for Functional Medicine. I'm certified with them, and I did my extra residency training, if you will, in functional and integrative medicine, and I have been able to appreciate over the years the significant impact and the emphasis that the gut has on our entire body because real healing often, just like Hippocrates says, starts in the gut. All disease starts in the gut, all healing starts in the gut. It's literally that foundational. And this is not going to be a podcast that's just take this or that probiotic. Like that's doesn't even scratch the surface. And I think our culture, because we love to kind of biohack our way out of things or supplement ourselves out of things, out of lifestyle habits, we like to just throw a quick fix supplement on there or a probiotic on there. And I've been guilty of that as well. I've taken many different types of probiotics over the years. And actually, right now, I don't take any as a baseline. And that may be a shocker to you because I've often been one to promote and share and to be upfront that I do take probiotics and I haven't taken much of any. I do take occasionally, I don't take every single day, but there are definitely times where I do. But a baseline everyday probiotic in a capsule, I just don't do it anymore because there's not a lot of data to support it, to be honest. And those that have supplement companies that thrive off probiotics, I'm sorry, but there's just not a lot of great data. There are some data. Mostly it's where you have been on, say, a antibiotic or something. You need to replenish the gut. This is a great time to take a probiotic, and I'll share about some definitely situations where you can benefit. But I don't believe we have any great data that shows that you should be on a probiotic every single day. That data is not really there. I'm more of a food first kind of guy. So I eat a lot of probiotic rich foods, and I'm going to get into that here and how we can really help our own microbiota thrive with the things that we supply it. Mostly the prebiotics, the fibers, and the fresh veggies, if you will, those fibrous veggies, artichokes, Brussels sprouts, things like that. My favorite, asparagus, have plenty of fiber in there, and that supports the gut. Like there's literally this huge issue here in the U.S. right now that many of us, sadly, are participants because we don't get much fiber in our diet. The average American gets probably 10, 12 grams of fiber. We should be getting minimum 30 to 40 grams, 50 or 60 would even be better, but most of us get like 10 grams of fiber a day. It's just pathetic. This is pathetic. This is a place where we have to change. And if we did, we would get much healthier guts and we could really heal from the inside out because a lot of times people are just looking for that quick fix, right? They just want to grab the probiotic and think that that's going to supplement their way out of what's really a lifestyle problem. The actual healing takes place from within, and that's based upon things like the quality of our food, the diversity of our food, whether or not we're sleeping well, the stress optimization that we may or may not be using, our circadian rhythm, our movement, how often with the digestive environment, we just need to do what we're supposed to be doing, like chew our food. For example, my grandfather was a great example of this. He always chewed his food minimum 20 times before he swallowed, sometimes even more. And he was just funny. He knew this from back in the day. He always chewed his food, and I think it was so ingrained in me that it's one of those things that my wife often bugs me about because she thinks that I chew too loudly and that I'm chewing too audibly, and it bothers her. And I think it's the perimenopause that is the issue right now. But I get it. But you got to chew your food. It's super important. We're gonna get into that in a moment. And so overall, supplements, I think can be helpful, but we got to remember that they are truly should be supplemental. They're not really the foundation. We got to get down to the roots, get down to the daily kind of foundational things, the inputs, if you will. And the exciting thing about all this is that as you do it, you can literally see improvements in your gut in days to weeks. So it actually happens quite quickly. You might notice as you optimize your gut health, you have better energy all of a sudden. You have less bloating, you have more, acuity, mental acuity, sharpness, brain focus, less brain fog. You can improve your body composition this way. You have less inflammation. You can get much better skin, better mood. Even your hormone balance can improve with the power of optimizing your gut. So I can't tell you how many people have come to me, many, many, many who have said, hey, my doc, has done labs on me. They say they're normal. I even did a colonoscopy and it's, fine. There wasn't anything sinister there. It was all good. Didn't have any polyps, didn't have any masses, all good. And they were just told you probably just have stress and maybe some IBS. And they were like, well, I don't get it. I don't feel good. I get this cramping, this bloating. I have diarrhea sometimes. I have constipation other times. And they're dealing with all of these digestive issues and also some food sensitivities. I can't eat this kind of food. I can't eat much fiber because I get bloating. I can't eat this. I can't eat that. I can't eat gluten. I can't eat lactose. I can't eat all these things. I just feel tired all the time. I have my one of my pet peeves is this thing called gastroesophageal reflux, right? GERD. It's in Western medicine, we do it all wrong. We treat it with kind of the exact opposite of what really gets down to the root of this issue. And yeah, you may have to refer to a previous podcast I did on GERD because we're doing it all wrong with Western medicine. We do the usual Band-Aid approach. In our minds, it makes like, oh, well, too much acid, you take an antacid. And that actually is one of the worst things you can do in many cases, as it totally wreaks havoc on your gut health. But anyway, I digress. The symptoms that you may be having, whether it be skin rashes, like I mentioned, or brain fog, or this weight gain in midsection issue, fatigue, it could be related to the gut. And the fascinating thing here is that it's it's often overlooked. It's so common, but it's often overlooked. And what I love about functional integrative medicine is we don't forget about the gut. We often start with the gut because it's one of the major upstream drivers, if you will, of chronic disease. It's like what's happening in your gut. And the bare minimum is like your stooling pattern, right? If you're not stooling or pooping at least once a day, like that's not enough. I would be happy if you did twice a day, even 3 times a day. And these are formed stools. We're not talking about loose stools or diarrhea. We're talking about good, solid, formed stools twice a day, every single day. And if you're not doing at least once a day, a good, solid, big formed stool, like that's not enough. That's not enough because you got to be able to process your foods and get rid of the toxins and all the other crap that you don't need. And you got to be stooling every single day, like to be able to decrease your inflammation, to improve your metabolism, to increase your insulin sensitivity, to be able to increase your immune function, all these things. The nutrient absorption, the bare minimum here, right, is the nutrient absorption. Even your hormone metabolism is related to the gut. But you got to get deep and you got to get foundational. And so we're going to talk about the foundational things that play into gut health. And it's a conversation much bigger than just simply what is the microbiome? What is the microbiota? What is, how is that? It's something that we got to focus on the inputs, if you will. And the inputs come from you and I and the choices we make or that we don't make, the things that we do, the things that we don't do. And that's because right now, what is the issue here? I mean, our modern horrible and it's full of processed foods, which are literally toxic to the gut. This ultra processed food scenario with super low fiber. And a lot of us take antibiotics several times a year, whether it be for the sniffles, a sinus thing, an ear thing, maybe a low grade UTI. Some of these things need antibiotics. Many of them don't. but we're taking antibiotics several times a year, and that wreaks havoc on our gut. Maybe we're not sleeping well. Maybe we have chronic stress. Maybe we're drinking a little too much alcohol. I mean, really, alcohol is always a toxin, right? It's called a toxic alcohol for a reason. Daniel Amen says this best. Any bit is toxic. The days are over when we're explaining it away and saying, "Oh, we got to have some red wine in our diet. It's heart healthy." It was never heart healthy. We were skewing the data, and we were doing what we were basically excusing our own behaviors, and it's not. I digress. But alcohol is always a toxin. If you do drink, just please minimize it and don't overdo it because you're gonna pay the price, whether it be with your inflammation or with your liver or with your midsection. It screws up your metabolism. It'll screw up your sleep. I mean, too many things are not awesome about alcohol. In fact, if you can think of one great thing, let me know because I'm not there yet. And believe me, in my family, we have major issues with. I had a brother that nearly died of alcoholism. Thank goodness he's been able to get sober and he's been sober for several years. His life has changed completely, which I'm so grateful for. He's incredibly grateful for, and it's been life changing. And so the other things too in our environment right now, I mean, besides just the crappy diet, the standard American super sad, ultra processed food diet, we got all kinds of garbage in our foods, artificial sweeteners. There's all kinds of environmental toxins there. We have a way too sedentary lifestyle. We also are, besides putting in the crap inputs, we're also adding on things like acid blockers in many cases where they shouldn't be there. And in fact, they're making things even worse. Or we're just eating way too distracted. We're on our phones. We're not chewing our food well enough. We're not paying attention. We just eat, eat, eat. We're not monitoring and paying attention to our own cues, right? We think we're hungry and we're just thirsty, and so we eat instead of have a glass of water with some electrolytes. we're too distracted, right? We're eating too quickly. We're not connecting with our food. Maybe we're not getting sunlight. Sunlight is incredibly important for our metabolism. We're this nervous system that is the one that operates best with respect to digestion is called the parasympathetic nervous system. And that's the one that's the restful, the one when we're doing our deep breathing, we're doing our mindfulness practice, whatever that may be, whether it be meditation. For me, it's just simply going for a walk or just closing my eyes, putting my hand over my heart for a couple of minutes and just taking some deep breaths. That parasympathetic nervous system is the one that's responsible for the rest and digest. And if we're eating in a chronic fight or flight because our cortisol is triggered, we're not able to digest properly. In fact, the blood will be shunted away from the gut if we're under too much of this sympathetic nervous system stuff, which is all the other type of stress that we are involved with. It's that fight or flight that's activated in many of us all the day long. We're just always in fight or flight of some kind. And so how can we expect to digest our food well? And we wonder well, I wonder why my gut's not healthy. Why is my microbiome struggling? Well, the inputs. So let's just talk briefly about what is this 5R approach. I promised you I would share about it because it's something a lot of people don't know. The functional medicine docs like myself, but we don't always do the greatest job in translating this for the common folk, for the rest of us. Like, how can we optimize our gut? Well, one of the ways is through this 5R framework. So briefly, the first R is remove. R is for remove. The second R is for replace. The third, reinoculate, then repair, then rebalance. And we'll go through each of these with a couple examples. But the first thing is one of the most key, critical, and important steps. And I really believe it's why it's number one, remove. If we would just simply focus a lot of our energy on the remove portion, most of our gut would heal itself, right? Remove is anything that's damaging the gut. Everything from the food, that ultra process, those three things I often ask everyone, including myself, to try to avoid in their diet, the big three, I call them, the highly processed grains and flours, the highly processed sugars, and these highly processed seed oils. If we could remove those big three, those ultra processed foods, I mean, it'd be great if we also remove the artificial sweeteners, any kind of excess sugar, the alcohol, these oils like I talked about, we should remove them. But if we could remove those things, in addition to the other things that wreak havoc on our gut, like a lot of the medications out there, like the anti-inflammatories called the NSAIDs. These are things like Motrin, any kind of ibuprofen or naproxen, these kind of anti-inflammatories that we often take willy-nilly. I used to take them anytime I had a slight headache. I'd pop 2 to 4 Motrin. Like I didn't even think about it. I didn't realize it was wrecking my gut. I mean, we learn in medicine that it could cause over time some kidney issues, even a GI bleed, bleeding ulcer kind of thing. But we knew that in excess, but we didn't know that even the daily small amounts can wreak havoc on our gut. Also, I shared about the antibiotic issue. If you're on antibiotics frequently, it can really screw up your gut. If you're a smoker, that messes with your gut. If you're just somebody that's snacking all the time, that can mess up your gut, right? Usually, if you're snacking, you're not snacking on healthy foods, you're eating inflammatory foods, and you're also never giving your gut a break. Your gut doesn't want to be working 24/7, right? You shouldn't be processing food all through the night. You shouldn't be eating right before bed. My minimum window is a 3 hour window between dinner and bedtime. Like this is something that behaviorally we've totally screwed up in this 21st century where we eat so late into the night. I mean, if you look at our ancestors who had much less chronic disease than us, they ate at 5 p.m. or even earlier. By the time the sun was down, they were done. They were not eating. They were done. And we should consider following that example. So one of the biggest issues I see present day, besides all of these things that we should try to avoid, right? Just remove them from our behaviors, whether it be from putting them in our mouths or just the inputs, like I shared about eating too late at night, or if we're smoking or drinking, or we're on frequent antibiotics, we're not sleeping well. Like these are the kinds of things we should remove those behaviors and focus on the good inputs, which is basically just real, whole, single ingredient food with more fiber. One of the biggest issues, and I shared this with a client earlier this week, is that we as Americans don't get enough fiber. I mean, we're averaging like 10, 12 grams a day where we should be 30 to 50, 30 to 60 grams. So triple, quadruple what we normally get. And here's the issue. Once you hear about it, you're like, oh crap, I need to add fiber. And then all of a sudden, 0 to 60, you're going from 10 grams a day to 30, 40, 50, and then you're getting all bloated. You feel like crap. And then you're like, screw this, it doesn't work. Well, you're not supposed to ramp up that quickly. Go slow. Add a gram a day for a week. And then after a week, you've added 7 grams. And then the next week, another gram a day. And pretty soon you're up to maybe 20 or 30 grams of fiber. And you were starting at 10. So do this over the course of weeks, not days or hours. You do this over the course of weeks. Try to increase your fiber slowly because this fiber feeds the beneficial microbiota, those gut organisms that help us so much, that can help us produce the serotonin, for example, that can help us produce the short chain fatty acids that feed our intestinal cells that make that border strong so you don't get leaky gut. Like the fiber is the fuel. In fact, there was a recent book entitled Fiber Fueled. It's a cool book, talks all about how we're underservicing ourselves by not eating enough fiber and how fiber can be a game changer. It certainly can be for gut health. So high fibrous foods, like I shared at the beginning, things like artichokes, broccoli, my favorite, Brussels sprouts. One of my other favorites, I love asparagus. It's just fibrous and I just love it. It tastes good. And I know it makes your pee smell funny for most of us, but it sure does have a bunch of fiber. So increase the fiber in your diet. And if you can't get enough through the fibrous veggies, add some psyllium husk, add some fiber supplement because you got to have fiber to feed the good guys so that they can outnumber the bad guys in your gut, if you will. So here's a couple practical steps. I often start with this with my clients. Number one, just remove the crap, right? Remove those big three, the ultra processed foods with the highly processed grain flours and sugars, and also the highly processed seed oils. Like remove that. Try to reduce your alcohol intake. Try to remove most sugar, especially any liquid sugar. Like don't drink juice, really. I mean, eat your fruit, right? Because it comes with the fiber. I love when Ben Bickman said that on my podcast, gosh, 5 or 6 years ago. He's like, eat your fruit. Don't drink your fruit. Like, just you don't need juice in your diet. Just eat the whole fruit because it comes with fiber, it comes with more nutrients and more vitamins. And you get to chew, right? I think in present day, we're not chewing enough. We're eating all these softer foods and smoothies and things. And we're forgetting that chewing is so beneficial. There's this whole cephalic phase of digestion that starts as we're thinking about food. And then as we chew food, the digestive enzymes get going. And if you're not chewing, you're missing a whole step. So you got to be like my grandfather and you got to chew your food and don't be distracted, right? Put the phones down. don't watch a movie while you eat. Put your phones in the middle of the table, chat with your partner or your family or kids or whatever, and have a conversation. Talk about the day, talk about the food, talk about whatever, but connect. Be connected with your food and with each other. And we shared about finish your dinner a little bit earlier, right? At least 3 hours before bed, and make sure you center your meals around protein. I talk about this a lot. Protein plus fiber. So in the beginning, you might want to eliminate some things. Maybe you want to do a trial, a couple of weeks of eliminating gluten or a couple of weeks of eliminating dairy and see if you can calm your gut that way. You may not have to eliminate it forever, but sometimes it's helpful. So let me just share with you a gal that I worked with. Oh gosh, it's been a couple of years, who came to me super frustrated. She was having so much bloating and she was taking probiotics. She's like, I'm taking this supplement stuff. It's supposed to be good for me, but she was also living on a bunch of protein bars, energy drinks, eating late at night. She traveled for work, and so she was eating just whatever she could find in the airports or fast food, whatever. Her sleep was fragmented. And she thought, maybe I just need a better energy source. Maybe I'm missing out. Maybe I got to get a better, she was taking this one supplement. It was a some kind of active energy drink thing that had pretty decent ingredients, but she was just taking more and more of this. Basically, it was caffeine to supplement all of these symptoms she was having because her gut was messed up. And so what she really needed is to start with the first R, which we've already shared about, right? The remove. She was eating a lot of these fast foods, whether it be airport foods or on the road kind of stuff. She was not eating very much fiber. Her sleep was often fragmented. She was also having some work dinners and having a little alcohol, and she was eating quickly and not really doing the things that we're talking about here, right? She didn't stop eating 3 hours before bed. She wasn't walking after her meals. And so we focused on those basic things. We got her to finish her last meal at least 3 hours before bed. We got her to walk for 10 minutes after every meal. We had her slow down during the meal, chew more, connect with her food more, not be distracted. This distracted eating. In fact, there's a recent paper. I have to dig to find out. It's been a while since I looked at this, but it's a couple of years ago that was talking about distracted eating when we're looking at our phones or watching TV. We not only don't chew enough and properly and well, but we're also eating more because we're distracted. We're not paying attention to our own signals, our own cues that our body has for us because we're distracted. Just like we're driving distracted. Put the phones down. Focus on what's happening in front of you, right? Like it's important. It should also be important for you to focus on your meal. Slow down. Use that parasympathetic nervous system, that rest and digest and chew. And so we focused on these things. I challenged her to walk for 10 minutes after every meal. I've been doing this for the last several years, and I've been getting all my clients to do it. And this is like literally the single most powerful thing people notice right away is if they just do this one simple hack. Just walk for 10 minutes after every meal. Just do it. Like I challenge you, if you're not doing that, do it. Not just one meal a day. I mean, it's great if you do it after your dinner because it's probably the most important time because you don't want to just sit down or go to sleep. You want to move. But if you can do it after every meal, oh my goodness, you're going to be so grateful. You're going to notice a huge, huge difference, not only in your energy, but in your digestion. And so with her bloating went away completely. Her energy went up and she actually didn't need this energy drink that she was doing all the time. Her cravings, she was snacking a lot. She was a snacker. And as we got her gut healthy, she literally didn't. She had one of these candy drawers and she got rid of it altogether. She even lost some of that stubborn midsection visceral fat, the inflammatory markers. She came in initially, I think her CRP was like 5 or 6. And by the time it was just about 6 weeks in, we really, removed a lot of things from her diet and the behaviors that weren't serving her. She got her CRP down to 1.0. So it was like a 3 or 4 fold, gosh, a 5-fold decrease in that short of a time. It was significant. And the best part is she felt so much better. Like she was waking up and not having her joints hurt. She was like, dang, I feel younger already. It's crazy. So here's the thing. It's going to the root. You got to go to the root cause because the gut is so key, critical, and crucial. It's interconnected with the whole body, and you got to get back to the basics. So, in the time that we got to the basics, basically within 60 days, she had extreme amounts of shifts with her energy. She lost some weight. She was not craving junk food. She felt much more rested. She got better sleep. These things happen quite quickly. Your gut, the cool thing about it is like this thing is not the same tomorrow as it was today or the day before. Like the trillions of bacteria and organisms there, they're dying and growing and being born. Like they're changing all the time. So you could actually change your gut health very quickly. It's really amazing. So, all right, we kind of got carried away with the R because one of my favorites, if you focus on the remove piece, whether it be a habit or lifestyle thing that's not serving you, or a food, the highly processed grains, flours, sugars, seed oils. If it, or if maybe it's ibuprofen. Like I used to take a bunch of ibuprofen. I took it like candy. In fact, I think I used to have almost like a candy shell, and I would, oh my gosh, it was crazy. I haven't had an ibuprofen in probably at least a decade. And I don't miss it. I don't need it. Anyway, so remove is the first R. The second is replace. This one I love because sometimes we're just missing a few things, right? Sometimes you might need a little extra digestive enzymes or even stomach acid support. A lot of times when we reach for an antacid, what we really should be reaching for is more acid to digest our foods better. And so there's honestly a couple of things that could be added back in, but one of the things I like people to replace is just some habit stuff. Like this isn't a podcast about buy this supplement or that supplement. Most of this is going to be behavioral change because, as I shared, we often are in this chronically stressed, sympathetic tone where we're stressed out and we can't allow our body to get into that restful, digestible, parasympathetic state, which is what you want because that's where you digest the food the best. So, one thing you could do right now this week is focus on not being distracted while you eat. Eat more slowly, chew your food more, double whatever you're doing now, double it. Chew twice as much and drink some water with your food, right? Make sure you're staying well hydrated and activate that parasympathetic rest and digest nervous system. Maybe you just take a minute before you eat. For me, I do this when I say grace, when I say a little gratitude over my food. Say a quick little prayer that takes about a minute. 5 deep breaths takes about a minute. So slow down, get into that restful parasympathetic tone, whatever mechanism you want to do. Just take a couple of breaths or say grace or focus on what's in front of you. Be grateful for it. And then while you're in the meal, chew more thoroughly, right? Don't be distracted. Put the screens away. And then after you're done, walk. Take a 10-minute walk. So simple. Or if it's cold outside, like it was a few months ago, you could put on your favorite dance tunes and do a little dance party in the living room. But now, in most places of the world, it's warm. So get out and walk. And it just feels amazing. So I know it sounds super basic, but these lifestyle things are so critical. In fact, one of the things that there's been a lot of research on is how chronic stress has repeatedly been associated with leaky gut or increased intestinal permeability. So this issue, which literally is the root cause of lots of the inflammation that is happening present day, and if your highly sensitive CRP is elevated, this could be you. This could be part of it. It could be that you have some leaky gut. And one of the things that has instigated this in many cases or caused it is chronic stress because it alters the permeability of that barrier. Remember, I was saying it's only one cell thick. So it doesn't take much to breach that. And chronic stress will certainly do that. So if you're stressed out, you're over caffeinated, you're tired but wired, you're eating too quickly, you're under recovered, all these things can play into your gut health. And there's no supplement stack in the world that's going to fully overcome or replace, or you gotta you gotta change some of the basic behavioral things, the lifestyle things that are free. They're simple, they're free. So focus on getting your 7 to 9 hours of sleep, not being so over caffeinated. Do the rest and digest, do some deep breathing, do some focus, do some mindfulness, right? Slow down, slow down. Make sure you have recovery time. All right, so that was the second R, which is replace. And the third is re-inoculate. This is where people overcompensate with re-inoculating with probiotics. And actually, I used to talk a lot about probiotics. I talk less about it now because we don't have a lot of great data that shows their utility. There is definitely some, and it is helpful if you're on antibiotics or have been on them. But honestly, it's more important, and the data backs increasing your fiber and the prebiotics even more so than probiotics. So I think it's much more important to focus on feeding your gut with the prebiotic fibers than obsessing about which probiotic is best, because there's not a lot of great ones out there. There's a couple that are pretty decent. I've been taking a couple different ones over the years, and I could give you some recommendations. But honestly, like Save your money for now. Don't focus on probiotics. Focus on prebiotics. They're free, basically. They're your food. They're your fibrous vegetables. Maybe you got to add a little bit of psyllium. That's super cheap as well. Adding more fiber is huge because that nourishes the good bacteria, right? These are things in the diet like onions and garlic, asparagus, artichokes. We talked about my favorites, right? Some beans, some lentils, chia, flax, the leafy greens, avocados, another one of my favorite, beans, asparagus. I think I said that, but I love asparagus. I love Brussels sprouts. Berries and onions are in there too. I love berries as well. So fibrous foods are so beneficial, and you got to eat anyway. So they're essentially free in the sense that you don't have to buy a supplement. Increase your fiber. Remember, a little bit at a time, and diversity matters, right? The more diverse your diet, the more diverse your microbiota. And you want that. A diverse microbiota is one of the most beneficial things. In fact, when they measure it, when they measure your health of your gut, they're looking at diversity. And if you want to throw in some fermented foods, I personally love kimchi, go for it, or sauerkraut, or kefir, or miso. Oh man, in Japan, we were there just a couple of months ago. They had the best miso. And if you have miso in Japan, it's like you almost don't want to have it anywhere else. It's so amazing. They have miso with everything. They had natto. They had all of this ferment. Oh, it was amazing. But here I'm back in Hawaii, and I just go with my standard go-to, which is kimchi. So make sure that if you increase the diversity of your diet, the fiber, and if you like some of these fermented foods, try to add a different one, every week. Maybe this week you're going to try kimchi for the first time, or maybe it's sauerkraut, maybe it's kefir. I mean, these are great, great things. They're super interesting. I think they have amazing flavor, and they're all different depending on what part of the world you get them in. It's just so cool. It's so cool. And so don't just reach for the probiotic pill or capsule, because actually many people I've noticed over the years, they reach for these thinking that they're healthy. And if they already have a gut problem, if they have leaky gut, or if they have SIBO, maybe you've heard of that, small intestinal bacterial overgrowth, or dysbiosis, which is super common. If you just start with a probiotic, it's actually going to make things worse before they get better. This is not a one size fits all reach for the supplement. This is tackle the issue at the root, at the base, which most of it is lifestyle. And here we're going to focus on increasing your fiber in your diet. Okay, so our number four, we're almost there. Our number four is repair. This is where we heal that leaky gut, because increased intestinal permeability or leaky gut is super common. And it may be the issue that you've had a lot of GI symptoms. Maybe it's the issue why your CRP could be elevated. So you got to repair that, repair the leaky gut. And one of the most important things is lower your inflammation, right? Because leaky gut allows for increased inflammation because some of the undigested foods, some of the bacterial antigens and fragments are getting across that single cell thick border. And they're not supposed to be, right? Like Dr. Mark Hyman says, the sewer is right next to the bloodstream in your gut. You don't want it to be open to your bloodstream, right? And actually, in functional integrative medicine, we see a lot of conditions. In fact, most of the autoimmune symptoms that we see are related to this leaky gut issue. Most of the food sensitivities, this IgG mediated immunity that are basically all the food intolerances largely come from leaky gut. Maybe your skin issue, your eczema, it could easily come from leaky gut. But often these inflammatory issues are gut related. And so sometimes, yes, there are supplements to add. In fact, some of my favorite supplements come into this category, like the omega-3s. They can be helpful in healing the gut. They're also super helpful for your cholesterol and for your brain health. So omega-3s, I always do. Collagen can be helpful for repairing your gut. I love collagen because it helps so many other things. It's basically the most abundant protein in your body. And after age 30, you're producing significantly less. And so why wouldn't you want to increase your collagen? So omega-3s, collagen, I'm doing those all the time. Polyphenols, that's all those amazing brightly colored fruits, right? Like you can do the resveratrol, but why not just eat the berries, right? Why you gotta buy resveratrol? Just eat the berries. There are a couple gut support that I love, glutamine and zinc carnosine. They can be super helpful. I don't start with those, but they're definitely on my go-to list for gut repair. Glutamine and zinc carnosine, but just supplement wise, kind of the ones that I always go to as my baseline are the omega-3s and the collagen, and of course the antioxidants like the polyphenols, which I try to get those from diet primarily. Anyway, the other things you can do that aren't supplements are just improve your sleep, right? Improve your sleep, improve your blood sugar control. And primarily you can do this by not eating the processed foods and by walking after meals, right? And eating anti-inflammatory foods. And these are those brightly colored fruits, right? The non-processed stuff, the real foods, and then just increasing your movement and optimizing your stress, right? Do more of the parasympathetic, the rest and digest and the breathing, and less of the sympathetic, the fight or flight. And align your circadian rhythm, get out first thing in the morning light. This is going to help your gut get healthy. Like you wouldn't think, but actually your gut responds to that. It's amazing, like how those microbiota, the bacteria that are in your gut, actually responds to those same signals that helps your body heal. So here's a quick list of some things you can do right now to repair your gut. Okay, you ready? I already told you about some supplement things, but these are lifestyle stuff. One, get out into the morning light. Increase your muscle mass. Do some resistance training, good old-fashioned weightlifting. Walking after every meal, 10 minutes, just do it. I promise you, you'll be astounded at how much benefit. Eat dinner earlier in the evening. Have at least 3 hours before you go to bed. Protein forward meals. Focus on protein first. Making sure your fiber is at least 30 grams a day. Hopefully it's 30, 40, 50, even up to 60. Reduce the ultra processed foods. Got to improve your sleep. Get 7 to 9 hours of high quality sleep. If you're not wearing one of these smartwatches, you should try one out because they're super fun. We can get into some of the nuances of it at another time, but I think just paying attention to your sleep and the quality of your sleep, ultra important, including for your gut. So those are all physiologic things that can make a big difference that are behavioral. They're all free. They don't cost money. You don't got to reach out and buy a new supplement. The final R is one of my favorites because it talks about rebalance or going back to our OG healthy selves. This may be the most important of all because it's something that we often neglect. This is finally where we tackle the deeper roots, the stress modification, the resilience. This is where we focus on circadian rhythm. This is basically how our optimal self would be, right? We would be resilient. We would get good sleep. We would have a great circadian rhythm. We would have joy and great relationships. We would be moving our bodies. Like think about when you think about healthy, what does healthy look like? Think about the things that you want to be able to do, or what is a healthy person able to do? Can they go walk for 10 miles just out of nowhere? Can they go hiking? Can they go for a run? Can they sprint? Can they swim? Can they climb upstairs without getting winded? Can they go play with their grandkids? Like, what does that look like for you? What does a healthy person look like? And that's what we want to focus on here. And a lot of it is the connection, the vitamin C for connection, the relationships, the joy, our nervous system regulation and recovery, if you will. And this comes down to this step it's kind of a big one. It's called rebalance, but it's rebalancing all of these important priorities that we have usually in our lives, but we forget about. We put them at the bottom, right? This is the you time, the me time, the you know what? Often it's kind of funny out there in social media. It gets talked about almost ad nauseum in certain environments, and I kind of laugh at it because it's a great thing to do, and it's a great thing to make sure you have. And sometimes us like high achieving people, we completely forget about this in our own personal lives, right? This is the personal day. If you have one in your workplace and you can take a personal day, we used to call it a P day. This was a day where you did your stuff, like you got your exercise, you did your prep, you focused and connected, you read a book, you connected with nature. We got to do more of this. This is kind of the self-care that you hear about. And I don't mean to overdo it because most of us don't overdo it, but sometimes we don't do any of it. We forget that just like a brief 5-minute walk in nature in the morning with the sunlight can be healing, it can be rejuvenating, and it can help our circadian rhythm. And it's not selfish. It's not selfish. Like you got to do this for yourself because you'll be able to give more if you're in a better place because you've taken the time to do that self-care, that personal care, those moments of reflection, of joy, the relationship. And I'm so grateful the last couple of years I had the opportunity to have a lot of these moments with my beautiful Janice, my stepmom of 37 years, who I got to spend a lot of time with these last couple of years. And And we would sit on the couch and just laugh. I would call her minimum once a week when I wasn't able to visit her. I would call her and we would just chat. And sometimes it was silly stuff. Sometimes it was about her cancer. Sometimes it was just about, some art project that she did or that my kids sent her or whatever. And we just connected and it was beautiful. It was lovely. And I miss that. But connecting with our family is so critical, so crucial. Having joy in the moment, like don't delay, have joy today. Right? Maybe that'll be my tagline for the year. Don't delay, have joy today. I remember when Amberly Lago wrote her book on joy. I mean, she's a good friend and she's been a great example of joy through the journey. Just joy for no reason, be happy for no reason. And so if that resonates with you, maybe something that you want to focus on. And this is part of the 5R approach that's often not talked about. It's called the rebalance approach. And it can incorporate all these beautiful things of getting connected to your highest self. And so, whew, anyway, I want to wrap this because I've given you a lot. I've given you the 5 R's, but a lot of examples, a lot of stories, and I'm going to share with you just another example of a guy that I worked with in his 50s who he was just telling me, gosh, I don't know what it is, but I have no energy. My sleep is crap. I'm stressed out all the time. I have, quote, digestive issues. And basically, he was going back and forth from constipation to loose stools. He was never having a great bowel movement. And part of it was his fiber intake was super low. He also had a bunch of inflammation going on. And so we didn't start with the supplement protocol right away. We actually didn't do any supplements in the beginning. We started on the foundational stuff, improving his sleep. We had him start walking after meals. We had him get up in the morning light and walk for 5 minutes, have the sunlight hit his eyes. We got more protein and more fiber in each and every meal. And we removed a lot of the crap. We got rid of the processed foods, right? The big three. We focused on his sleep. We focused on his nervous system regulation. We did some deep breathing before every meal. We had him chew his food. We improved his digestion habits. And you know what? It was amazing with these simple and free behaviors, free lifestyle choices. He began to get his energy back and it felt so much better. The digestive issues literally within a few weeks had almost nearly completely gone just from slowly increasing his fiber and increasing his movement after meals and eliminating the big three, the highly processed grains and flours, highly processed sugars, the seed oils, eating real foods. He even added a couple of probiotic foods. I think he didn't really like kimchi much, but he liked kefir and a couple other things. So he was doing a few of those as well. But it was foundational what the simple lifestyle choices he began to make, how they were overlaying everything behaviorally. Like he got his energy back, his sleep got better. He actually lost a few pounds, which he wasn't even trying to specifically in this environment. That wasn't our focus. Our focus was on getting his gut healthy. And as we did that, the other things all tended to come into place. It was amazing. Your gut is that important. There was a reason why Hippocrates said all disease begins in the gut, and why I say all health begins in the gut. So if you've had any of those symptoms we talked about at the beginning, whether it be brain fog or some digestive issues, constipation, whatever, diarrhea, crampiness, bloating, or you're just inflamed, your joints hurt, maybe you have a skin rash like eczema, all this could be your gut. And so make sure to focus on the basics. Use this 5R approach. If you have questions, reach out to me. I'm over there on Instagram, Dr. Thomas Hemingway, Facebook, Thomas Hemingway, MD. If you need more information, just reach out to me, message me. I can send you some more resources. This is the kind of stuff that literally lights me up because it is foundational. And it's the small things that can make big, big changes over time. And I've noticed in the last decade where I've really focused on my own personal gut health and that of my clients that everything has changed. I don't crave sweets anymore. I literally have no desire to snack out and eat junk food. I mean, I might have a bowl of ice cream on my kid's birthday. It's not a huge bowl. I used to eat huge bowls, not anymore. Like, I don't need to. I don't crave it. I eat real whole foods and brightly colored ones and lots of fiber and lots of protein. And I move my body after every single meal. I've improved my sleep. And most of this has all come down to working on my gut health. And so I hope you've learned a few things with this 5R approach. I hope it's been beneficial. If it has, please share it out with a friend, a family member. Remember that I never said probiotics are bad. I just said that they may not be necessary. Focus on the foundational things. You can use them once in a while when needed, but focus on the more powerful things first, which is fiber and prebiotics, much more than probiotics. And if you want specifics on probiotics, you can reach out to me directly on that, but I'd be happy to share with you my own experience and the data because there's not a ton supporting them in most cases, but there is lots of data supporting these free lifestyle habits that we talked about here and these 5 R's, which we talked about, the 5R approach. And so feel free to reach out, make sure you drop a review. I would love to hear your comments, your feedback, and until next time, a big aloha.